Are you drowning in a sea of unread books? Do you find yourself struggling to remember what you've read, or worse, not understanding the deeper meaning behind the words? You're not alone. In today's information age, we're bombarded with content. But how much of it truly sticks? The answer lies in a forgotten art, the art of reading. Yes, you heard that right. Reading isn't just about decoding words. It's a skill that can be honed, sharpened, and mastered. Enter How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler and Charles Van Doren, a timeless guide that's been transforming readers since 1940. This isn't just another self-help book. It's a roadmap to unlocking the true power of reading. Imagine understanding complex ideas effortlessly, engaging in thoughtful discussions about literature, and retaining knowledge that lasts a lifetime. This isn't a fantasy. It's the reality for those who've mastered the art of reading. In this video, we'll dive into Adler and Van Doren's wisdom, exploring their 4 levels of reading and how they can revolutionize your relationship with books. Get ready to turn those dusty tomes into treasure troves of wisdom. Introduction. Published in 1940 and revised in 1972, How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler and Charles Van Doren is a groundbreaking work that challenges our fundamental understanding of reading. In a world where literacy is common, the authors argue that merely being able to read doesn't equate to reading well. They posit that reading is an art, a skill that can be developed and refined over time. The book's central thesis is that there are 4 distinct levels of reading: elementary, inspectional, analytical, and syntopical. Each level builds upon the previous one, offering readers a progressive path to deeper understanding and critical engagement with texts. This hierarchical approach demystifies the reading process, making it accessible and improvable for everyone. Beyond these levels, Adler and Van Doren provide practical strategies for various genres, from philosophy to fiction, acknowledging that different types of writing demand different reading techniques. Their goal isn't just to make you a better reader, but to foster intellectual growth. As they eloquently state, in the case of good books, the point is not to see how many of them you can get through, but rather how many can get through to you. Chapter 1. The Activity and Art of Reading. In this foundational chapter, Adler and Van Doren challenge our common perception of reading. Most of us see reading as a passive activity, where we simply absorb information from the page. The authors argue that this view is fundamentally flawed. True reading, they assert, is an active process that demands engagement, effort, and skill. They draw a crucial distinction between reading for information and reading for understanding. The former is like skimming the surface of a lake, gathering facts that float by. The latter is like diving deep, exploring the hidden depths to grasp the underlying concepts and ideas. This distinction sets the tone for the entire book, emphasizing that reading for understanding, what they call good reading, is an art that can be learned and perfected. The authors also introduce the concept of reading as a conversation with the author. When you read passively, it's like listening to a lecture. But when you read actively, questioning, agreeing, or disagreeing with the author, it becomes a dialogue. This shift in perspective is transformative. Suddenly, reading isn't a solitary act, but an intellectual exchange, making the experience richer and more memorable. Furthermore, they stress that the goal of reading isn't just to acquire information, but to gain enlightenment. Good books challenge our assumptions, broaden our perspectives, and stimulate our minds. By treating reading as an art, we open ourselves to this transformative power, allowing books to shape our thoughts and enrich our lives. Chapter 2. The Levels of Reading. This pivotal chapter introduces the book's core framework, the 4 levels of reading. It's a hierarchical model that provides a roadmap for becoming a more proficient reader. Each level builds upon the previous one, offering a structured path to deeper understanding. 1. Elementary reading. This is the level most of us achieve in grade school. It's the ability to recognize words, understand basic grammar, and follow a simple narrative. While essential, it's just the starting point. 2. Inspectional reading. Here, you learn to quickly assess a book's value and structure. It involves skimming, surveying the table of contents, and reading selected passages. The goal is to determine whether the book warrants a deeper read. 3. Analytical reading. This is where serious reading begins. You dissect the book, identifying its key themes, understanding the author's arguments, and critically evaluating their validity. It's a rigorous process that demands active engagement. 4. Syntopical reading. The highest level, syntopical reading, involves comparing multiple books on the same subject. You become the master, orchestrating a dialogue between different authors, synthesizing their ideas to form your own conclusions. The authors emphasize that these levels aren't rigid categories, but a continuum. As you progress, you'll find yourself fluidly moving between levels, adapting your approach to each book's demands. This flexibility is key. By understanding these levels, you gain control over your reading, making each encounter with a book more purposeful and rewarding. Chapter 3, the first level of reading, elementary reading. Elementary reading is where our journey begins. It's the foundation upon which all higher levels are built. Adler and Van Doren remind us not to dismiss this stage. Even accomplished readers can benefit from revisiting these basics. At this level, reading is about decoding. You learn to recognize words, understand sentence structure, and follow simple narratives. It's a mechanical process, much like learning to ride a bike. Initially, you focus on pedaling and balancing, but with practice, these actions become automatic. The authors stress the importance of speed and comprehension at this stage. Many adults read slowly because they never fully mastered elementary reading. They suggest exercises like timed readings and comprehension quizzes to sharpen these skills. The goal is to make word recognition and basic understanding effortless, freeing your mind for higher-level tasks. They also discuss the challenges some face at this level, such as dyslexia or inadequate schooling. Their message is encouraging. With the right techniques and persistence, anyone can improve. Elementary reading isn't just for children. It's a continual process of refinement that enhances all your reading experiences. Chapter 4, the second level of reading, inspectional reading. Inspectional reading is your first step into active reading. It's about making smart decisions with your time. In our book-saturated world, not every text deserves a deep dive. Inspectional reading helps you quickly assess a book's value and relevance to your needs. Adler and Van Doren present two key techniques. 1. Systematic skimming. This isn't random browsing. In a few minutes, you systematically examine the book's structure. Read the title page, preface, and table of contents. Scan chapter summaries and concluding remarks. This gives you a bird's-eye view of the book's terrain. 2. Superficial reading. Next, read a few pages from each chapter, focusing on pivotal sections. Don't stop for unfamiliar words or complex ideas. The goal is to grasp the main flow, not to understand every detail. Through these methods, you gain crucial insights. You identify the book's genre, target audience, and central arguments. You also gauge its difficulty and style. This information helps you decide, is this book worth my time? Do I need to read it now, later, or not at all? The authors emphasize that inspectional reading isn't cheating, it's strategic. It prevents you from getting bogged down in books that don't serve your current needs. Moreover, if you decide to read analytically, this initial survey provides a mental framework, making your deep reading more focused and productive. Chapter 5, How to be a demanding reader. In this chapter, Adler and Van Doren urge you to become an active, demanding reader. They argue that many people read passively, treating books like television, something to consume without effort. This approach wastes the unique power of books. Being a demanding reader means asking questions as you read. 1. What is the book about as a whole? 2. What is being said in detail and how? 3. Is the book true in whole or part? 4. What of it? These questions transform reading into a dialogue. You're not just absorbing information, you're critically engaging with the author's ideas. This engagement makes the reading experience dynamic and the content more memorable. The authors also stress the importance of reading with a purpose. Before opening a book, ask yourself, why am I reading this? For information, enjoyment, personal growth? Your purpose shapes how you read. An engineer reading a novel for pleasure will approach it differently than a literature student analyzing its structure. Ultimately, being a demanding reader means taking ownership of your reading. You're not a passive recipient, but an active participant, questioning, challenging, and growing through your interaction with the text. Chapter 6. Pigeonholing a book. Pigeonholing a book might sound like reducing a book to a stereotype, but Adler and Van Doren use this term positively. In their view, categorizing a book is the first step in truly understanding it. Just as a well-organized library uses categories to help readers find what they need, you categorize books to approach them effectively. The primary distinction is between fiction and nonfiction. This isn't always obvious. Some novels feel like history. Some histories read like novels. The key is intent. Fiction aims to entertain or provide aesthetic experience, while nonfiction seeks to impart knowledge or opinions. For nonfiction, the categories deepen. Is it history, science, philosophy, or social science? Each has its conventions. A history book should reference primary sources. A scientific work should describe experiments. A philosophical text should present logical arguments. By identifying the category, you set appropriate expectations. Next, pinpoint the book's specific subject. A history book might focus on the French Revolution, a science book on quantum physics. State this subject in your own words as concisely as possible. This exercise forces you to distill the book's essence, moving from vague impressions to precise understanding. The authors stress that pigeonholing isn't constraining, it's liberating. Once you identify a book's category and subject, you can engage with it on its own terms. You wouldn't read a poem the same way as a scientific paper. Pigeonholing guides your approach, making your reading more accurate and rewarding. Chapter 7. X-raying a book. If pigeonholing is about classifying a book from the outside, X-raying is about revealing its inner structure. Just as an X-ray shows a body's skeletal framework, this technique exposes a book's conceptual bones, the organizational structure that supports all its ideas. Adler and Van Doren guide you through this process. 1. Identify major parts. Most books are divided into parts or sections. In a history book, these might be historical periods. In a philosophical work, different ethical theories. Understanding this high-level organization gives you a map of the book's territory. 2. Find key passages. Within each part, locate pivotal paragraphs or sentences. These are the load-bearing walls that support the section's ideas. Often, they're the opening or closing statements, summarizing the main point. 3. Trace the author's arguments. See how ideas flow from these key passages. Supporting points, examples, and rebuttals to counter-arguments all branch out from these central claims. This reveals the book's logical structure. 4. Label pivotal terms. Circle or underline words that carry special weight. In a book on democracy, terms like liberty or equality would be pivotal. These words often appear in those key passages, signaling core concepts. The authors recommend physically outlining the book, perhaps in its margins. This isn't defacement, it's engagement. By mapping the book's skeleton, you see how its parts fit together, grasping its unity and coherence. You're not just reading words, you're dissecting ideas. Chapter 8. Coming to terms with an author. In this chapter, Adler and Van Doren focus on the fundamental unit of communication: words. They argue that many reading difficulties stem from vocabulary issues, not just unfamiliar words, but familiar words used in unfamiliar ways. Coming to terms means aligning your understanding of key terms with the author's intended meanings. Every field has its jargon. A biologist's culture, a growth medium for bacteria, differs from an anthropologist's, a society's shared beliefs. Even common words can have specialized uses. In economics, rational doesn't mean sensible, but acting to maximize self-interest. The authors provide a systematic approach. 1. Find key terms. As you read, note words that seem central to the author's argument, especially those used frequently or unusually. 2. Look for definitions. Authors often define their terms, either directly, by justice I mean, or through context. These definitions may differ from dictionary meanings. 3. Restate in your own words. Once you grasp the author's meaning, rephrase it. This tests your understanding and helps you internalize the concept. 4. Create a glossary. For complex books, list key terms with your notes on their meanings. This personal dictionary becomes a valuable reference. The goal isn't just to understand individual words, but to enter the author's conceptual world. When you and the author come to terms, you're operating within the same mental framework. This alignment is crucial for grasping their full message, especially in fields like philosophy or science where precise language is essential. Chapter 9. Determining an author's message. With a grasp of the author's terms and arguments, you're ready to tackle their core message. This chapter teaches you to see past the details to the heart of what an author is saying. It's like looking beyond individual brushstrokes to see the entire painting. Adler and Van Doren stress that every non-fiction book has a central theme or a set of main ideas. Even a wide-ranging history book has an overarching thesis. Perhaps that economic factors drive political changes. Your task is to articulate this main point. The process is systematic. 1. Find propositional sentences. Look for statements that make clear claims. The Industrial Revolution transformed not just manufacturing, but the very fabric of society is propositional. It asserts a definite idea. 2. Distinguish arguments from evidence. Some sentences present the main argument, others provide supporting data. In our example, descriptions of factory conditions would be evidence for the main proposition about societal change. 3. Identify author's problems. What questions is the author trying to answer? What issues are they wrestling with? Often, the main message is their proposed solution to these problems. 4. Grasp order of importance. Not all propositions are equal. Some are foundational, others derivative. Identify the most fundamental claims, those without which the entire argument would collapse. The authors advise writing a summary of the book's main points, strictly in your own words. This isn't busy work, it's a litmus test. If you can't articulate the author's message in your language, you haven't truly grasped it. This exercise pushes you from passive reading to active understanding. Chapter 10. Criticizing a book fairly. Many readers shy away from critiquing books, especially classics. Adler and Van Doren argue this hesitation is misplaced. Critical reading isn't arrogance, it's engagement. However, they stress that criticism must be fair, based on understanding and reason, not personal bias. The chapter outlines rules for constructive criticism. 1. Understand before you judge. This is paramount. Before you disagree, ensure you've grasped the author's points. As the authors wryly note, you'll find very few monsters if you first make sure the author means what you think he does. 2. Don't be contentious. Avoid disagreeing merely to show cleverness. The goal is enlightenment, not winning debates. Seek points of agreement as readily as differences. 3. Respect knowledge versus opinion. Some statements are factual. Paris is the capital of France, Others are judgments. Paris is the most beautiful city. Recognize this distinction to critique appropriately. 4. Base disagreements on reasons. Support your critiques with logic, not emotions or personal preferences. "I don't like this theory" is empty. This theory overlooks key evidence, is substantive. The authors also discuss the value of suspending judgment. Sometimes you need more information or reflection before deciding. It's okay to say, "I'm not sure yet." This isn't indecision, it's intellectual honesty, acknowledging that some ideas require prolonged consideration. Importantly, they remind us that even disagreements are productive. When you thoughtfully critique a book, you're not just evaluating it, you're refining your own ideas. Fair criticism is a dialogue that sharpens both participants. Chapter 11. Agreeing or disagreeing with an author. Building on fair criticism, this chapter teaches you to articulate agreement or disagreement precisely. Adler and Van Doren argue that vague responses like "I liked it" or "I didn't buy it" are intellectual dead ends. To grow from your reading, you must pinpoint exactly where and why you concur or dissent. They provide 4 bases for response. 1. Facts. Is the author misinformed or uninformed? Perhaps they cite outdated statistics or overlook recent discoveries. Here your disagreement is factual. You have better information. 2. Interpretation. Do you read the facts differently? You might agree on historical events but see their significance differently. An author might view the Renaissance as an intellectual rebirth. You see it as a continuation of medieval trends. 3. Inferences. Are the author's conclusions logical? You might accept their facts and interpretation, but find their reasoning flawed. They argue correctly that a treatment reduces symptoms, but you contest their leap to calling it a cure. 4. Completeness. Has the author covered all angles? Maybe their individual points are valid, but they've ignored crucial aspects. A book on urban planning that overlooks public transportation would be incomplete. Notably, agreement demands equal rigor. Don't agree just because an idea is popular or aligns with your beliefs. Test it against these same criteria. This discipline strengthens your convictions, ensuring they're based on reason, not mere preference. The authors emphasize that this isn't about being adversarial. Even when you disagree, you're building a relationship with the book. By engaging critically, you honor the author's ideas, treating them as worthy of serious consideration. Chapter 12. Aids to Reading. In this practical chapter, Adler and Van Doren debunk the myth of the lone reader, battling through texts in solitary glory. They argue that using reading aids isn't cheating, it's smart strategy. Just as a carpenter uses various tools for different tasks, a skilled reader employs diverse aids to enhance comprehension. The authors categorize these tools. 1. Extrinsic aids, resources outside the book. Reference, works. Dictionaries clarify terms, encyclopedias provide context, atlases locate places. Use them actively. Don't just accept definitions, but consider how they fit the author's usage. Commentary. Scholarly notes, book reviews, and critical essays offer expert insights. They can illuminate obscure passages or provide historical context. 2. Intrinsic aids, features within the book. Table of contents and index. Not mere lists, but maps of the book's structure. A well-designed index doesn't just locate terms, but shows their relationships. Footnotes and bibliographies. These aren't interruptions, but invitations to dig deeper. They link you to the author's sources, expanding your understanding. 3. Personal aids, tools you create. Highlighting and margin notes. More than decoration, these are your dialogue with the text. Develop a system. Perhaps stars for key points, questions for uncertainties. Personal indexes. On blank pages, list concepts that strike you with page numbers. This becomes your unique map of the book. The authors stress that aids should empower, not replace your thinking. Use them to enrich your direct engagement with the text. After all, the most powerful aid is your active, questioning mind. Chapter 13. How to read practical books. Practical books, from cookbooks to self-help guides, are the workhorses of our reading lives. Yet, Adler and Van Doren note, we often read them poorly. We skim for quick tips, ignoring the principles that make those tips work. This chapter teaches you to read practical books, well, practically. The key is understanding that practical books have two parts. 1. Rules, the explicit do's and don'ts. 2. Principles, the underlying theories that justify those rules. Most readers fixate on rules. In a book on negotiation, they'll memorize phrases like, start with a high offer. But without grasping principles, in this case the psychology of anchoring, they can't adapt when the script fails. The authors advise, 1. Grasp the problem. What issue is this book addressing? A dieting book tackles weight loss, but is it focusing on metabolism, psychology, or food science? 2. Test rules against principles. Do the suggested actions logically flow from the underlying theories? A productivity book preaching do the hardest task first should justify this with solid psychological or organizational principles. 3. Evaluate completeness. Does the book cover all aspects of its problem? A guide to public speaking that ignores body language would be incomplete. 4. Apply with judgment. Rules aren't universal. Adapt them to your situation, guided by your understanding of the principles. Most importantly, test practical books through action. A negotiation guide is theoretical until you use it in a real deal. This application isn't just about effectiveness. It deepens your grasp of the principles, making you not just a follower of rules, but a master of the subject. In 14 and 15 chapters, Adler and Van Doren venture into the realm of imaginative literature. Novels, plays, poems. Many analytical readers stumble here, trying to dissect a sonnet like a science paper. The authors show that while analytical reading still applies, it needs a gentler, more intuitive touch. Chapter 14 distinguishes between two literary aims. 1. Entertainment, providing pleasure, escape, or emotional release. 2. Enlightenment, offering insights into human nature and life's complexities. Great literature, they argue, always offers both. Even a gripping thriller, entertainment, might reveal truths about courage or moral ambiguity, enlightenment. Your task is to be receptive to both dimensions. The key is to read with your whole being, not just your intellect. Emotions. Let yourself feel joy, sorrow, anger as the characters do. Senses. Visualize scenes, hear dialogue's tones, almost smell and touch the settings. Imagination. Don't just follow the plot, live it. Wonder what you do in the character's shoes. This immersive reading makes literature an experience, not just a text. You don't merely learn about love in a Jane Austen novel. You feel its flutter and ache. Chapter 15 offers genre-specific guidance. Stories, novels, and short stories. Don't overanalyze plot. It matters, but it's the vehicle, not the destination. Identify with characters, not just protagonists. Even villains have relatable facets. Look for epiphanies, key moments where characters, or you, gain sudden insights. Plays. Remember, it's a script. On the page, you see only a fraction. Imagine staging, acting, audience reactions. Hear the voices. Read dialogues aloud, noting tone, pauses, interruptions. Picture movement. Stage directions aren't trivial. A character turning away reveals volumes. Poetry. Start with sound. Before seeking meaning, hear the rhythms, rhymes, alliterations. Poetry is music made of words. Embrace ambiguity. A poem often has multiple valid interpretations. Don't rush to pin down one. Look for images. Poets deal in vivid pictures. Let silent bare fields or ancient twisted oak burn into your mind's eye. Reread, reread. Unlike most texts, Poems demand and reward repeated readings. Each pass reveals new layers. Throughout, the authors emphasize active reading. In nonfiction, this means questioning. In literature, it means participating. You're not a spectator but a co-creator, using your emotions and imagination to bring the work to life. This engagement makes reading literature not just analytical, but transformative. Chapter 16, How to Read History. History books might seem straightforward, just facts and dates, right? Wrong, say Adler and Van Doren. History is a complex dance between evidence and interpretation, requiring you to read with both skepticism and empathy. First, recognize that no history is purely objective. Every historian selects and arranges facts to support a viewpoint. A book on the American Revolution might emphasize political ideals or economic tensions, shaping your understanding. This isn't dishonesty, it's the nature of history. Your job is to discern these perspectives. The authors suggest key questions. 1. What's the scope? Is it a broad survey, the entire Roman Empire, or a focused study, 1 year in Pompeii? This sets your expectations for depth versus breadth. 2. What's the plot? History isn't random events, but a narrative. Identify the central story, maybe the rise and fall of the Roman Republic. Then see how events and figures fit this arc. 3. What's the logic? How does the author link events? Do they see the French Revolution as caused by economic strife, Enlightenment ideas, or poor leadership? Understanding this logic reveals their interpretive framework. 4. Whose story is it? Histories often reflect national or cultural biases. A British and an American book on the War of 1812 might share facts, but assign very different roles of hero and villain. 5. Is context complete? Good historians situate events in their full context, social, economic, cultural. A book on the Renaissance falls short if it only covers art, ignoring changes in banking or printing. They also stress evaluating evidence. Some claims have solid backing. Letters, artifacts, multiple contemporary accounts. Others are more speculative. Learn to distinguish, asking, how reliable are the sources? Is evidence cherry-picked? Are there credible counter-narratives? Unique to history is the need for imaginative sympathy. To truly grasp past events, you must mentally inhabit that world. Reading about the Black Death, try to feel the fear in a time when plagues were seen as divine punishment. This isn't just emotional, it's intellectual, helping you understand why people acted as they did. By reading history actively, you learn to see the present more critically. You recognize that today's obvious truths might be tomorrow's debated interpretations. Chapter 17. How to Read Science and Mathematics. Many readers approach science books with dread, expecting impenetrable formulas and jargon. Adler and Van Doren demystify this genre, showing that with the right approach, anyone can meaningfully engage with scientific texts. They distinguish two types of science books. 1. Works of science, original research papers or advanced texts. These often require specialized training. 2. Works about science, books explaining scientific concepts to a broader audience. This chapter focuses on these. The first step is identifying the book's domain. Science is vast. Physics, biology, astronomy, each with its paradigms. A text on quantum mechanics needs a different mindset than one on evolutionary biology. Next, grasp the book's status. 1. Milestones. Works that transformed their field, like Darwin's On the Origin of Species. 2. Surveys. Books summarizing a discipline's current state. 3. Popular expositions. Texts making complex ideas accessible, like Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time. Understanding this status sets your expectations. A milestone work might use outdated terms but offers profound insights. A survey gives a reliable overview but may oversimplify. A critical task is distinguishing facts from theories. In science, Facts are well-established observations. Planets orbit the Sun. Theories explain these facts. Gravity causes orbits. Good science books clearly separate these, helping you see which ideas are settled and which are still debated. For mathematics books, the authors offer unique advice. 1. Understand the notation. Math has its own language. Learn symbols, as you would Chinese characters. 2. Grasp rules. Like grammar in language, math has rules, order of operations, axioms. Know these to follow arguments. 3. Follow each step. Math builds argument by argument. Ensure you understand each before moving on. 4. Do the exercises. In language, you learn by speaking. In math, by solving problems. Throughout, they encourage questioning. What problem is this solving? How well supported are the conclusions? What are its real-world implications? Even if you don't grasp every detail, this active approach lets you understand a scientific book's main ideas and significance. You move from being intimidated by science to being an informed, critical consumer of its insights. In 18 and 19 chapters, Adler and Van Doren guide you through two fields that profoundly shape our lives, yet are often misread: philosophy and social science. Both explore human experiences, but their approaches demand distinct reading strategies. Chapter 18. How to read philosophy. Many see philosophy as abstract wordplay far from daily life. The authors argue this view misses philosophy's essence, rigorous thinking about life's core questions. What is justice? What makes art beautiful? These aren't idle queries, but issues that shape societies. Reading philosophy demands: 1. Identify the questions. Each work tackles specific problems. Kant's Critique of Pure Reason asks, what can we truly know? Recognizing his question helps you follow his complex arguments. 2. Grasp key terms. Philosophers often redefine common words. Aristotle's happiness isn't just feeling good, but living a virtuous life. Misreading such terms derails understanding. 3. Spot pivotal propositions. Philosophers build intricate logical structures. Find the foundational claims, Descartes' "I think, therefore I am," and see how other ideas rest on these. 4. Trace the arguments. Philosophy lives by logic. An argument might span pages, moving from premises through reasoning to conclusions. Map this flow, questioning each link. 5. Evaluate truth versus meaning. You might disagree with a philosopher's conclusions, yet admire their logic. Separate "is this true?" from "is this well argued?" Aristotle's physics is outdated, but his methods shaped science. 6. Connect to experience. Apply philosophical ideas to your life. Reading Nietzsche's views on suffering isn't just intellectual. Reflect on how you face challenges. The authors stress that disagreeing with philosophers is normal, even encouraged. Philosophy isn't about finding definitive answers, but about refining our questions and sharpening our reasoning. When you thoughtfully dispute Plato or challenge Sartre, you're doing philosophy. Chapter 19. How to read social science. Social sciences, economics, psychology, sociology, study human behavior systematically. Unlike philosophy's logical proofs, they use empirical methods, data, experiments, case studies. This blend of scientific rigor and human complexity demands careful reading. Key strategies. 1. Identify the field. Each discipline sees humans through a lens. Economics views us as rational actors. Psychology explores our irrational sides. Know the lens to interpret findings. 2. Examine methodology. How was data gathered? A study on online behavior using only college students has limits. Always ask, who was studied, how and why? 3. Distinguish description from prescription. Social scientists describe how people act, not always how they should. An economics book might explain why companies pollute without endorsing it. 4. Watch for interdisciplinary links. Human behavior is multifaceted. A book on urban crime might blend economics, poverty's role, psychology, effects of stress, and sociology, gang dynamics. 5. Consider cultural bias. Many foundational studies were done in Western, affluent nations. A theory of child development based solely on American kids might not fit globally. 6. Look for case studies. Unlike physics, social sciences can't always do controlled experiments. Rich case studies, a town's response to a factory closure, offer deep contextual insights. 7. Reflect on personal experience. Does the book's claims match your life? If a psychology text says, all teenagers rebel, but you didn't, that's noteworthy. Personal exceptions don't invalidate theories but suggest nuances. A unique challenge in social science is reflexivity. Unlike atoms or stars, humans react to being studied, potentially altering results. A book on stock market psychology might influence investor behavior, affecting the very trends it describes. Good social science books acknowledge this dynamic. The authors emphasize that reading social science isn't just academic, it's civic. These books shape policies that govern our lives. A work on criminal justice might influence sentencing laws. An economics text could sway tax policies. By reading critically, you become an informed citizen, equipped to engage in debates that steer society's course. Chapter 20. The fourth level of reading, syntopical reading. In this pivotal chapter, Adler and Van Doren introduce syntopical reading, the most demanding yet rewarding level. If analytical reading is about mastering one book, syntopical reading is about mastering a subject through multiple books. It's not just reading widely, but reading orchestrally, conducting a symphony of diverse texts. The term syntopical combines syn, together, and topics. You're bringing together various viewpoints on a topic, not just to compare them, but to construct a new understanding. It's intellectual alchemy, transforming disparate ideas into unified gold. The process is rigorous. 1. Create a bibliography. First, survey the field to identify seminal works. This isn't just listing famous books, but actively searching for diverse perspectives. 2. Inspect all works. Apply inspectional reading to each book. You're not reading deeply yet, just mapping each text's territory, its focus, style, stance. 3. Establish a common language. Different authors use terms differently. Create a neutral vocabulary that translates each author's jargon. This common tongue lets you compare ideas fairly. 4. Define key questions. Frame issues that cut across all books. On democracy, you might ask, what ensures minority rights? Or, can it function in large populations? These questions become your compass. 5. Analyze discussions. See how each author addresses your questions. Some offer direct answers, others provide implicit insights. Note agreements, disagreements, and unique angles. 6. Order the conversation. Don't just summarize each book. Synthesize a dialogue as if the authors were debating at one table. Who builds on another's point? Who offers a counter-argument? The magic of syntopical reading is that you become an active participant in this great conversation. You're not just reporting ideas, but orchestrating them, even contributing your own. On democracy, after studying Locke, Rousseau, and modern authors, you might propose a new perspective on digital age governance. This process is demanding. It requires time, intellectual humility to fairly represent views you dislike, and creativity to see connections others miss. But the rewards are unparalleled. You gain not just knowledge, but wisdom, the ability to navigate complex issues with nuance and depth. Chapter 21. Reading and the Growth of the Mind. In this concluding chapter, Adler and Van Doren elevate their discussion from the mechanics of reading to its profound purpose, the growth of the mind. They argue that reading, done well, isn't just an activity, but a transformative journey that shapes our very being. The authors begin by challenging a common notion, that education ends with formal schooling. This view, they argue, is not just mistaken but perilous. It reduces learning to a checklist, classes completed, degrees earned, ignoring the lifelong journey of intellectual growth. Such thinking leads to stagnation. Once the diploma is in hand, many stop stretching their minds. Adler and Van Doren propose a radically different view. True education is a continual process, propelled largely by reading. Great books, they argue, are like master teachers, always ready to instruct. Unlike human mentors who retire or move on, these paper pedagogues offer wisdom whenever opened. More importantly, they grow with you. A book that seemed simple in college might reveal profound depths a decade later because you've evolved as a reader. This growth through reading isn't mere accumulation of facts. It's a qualitative change in how you think. When you grapple with Aristotle's ethics or struggle through Einstein's theories, you're not just learning their ideas. You're internalizing their thought patterns. Over time, this exposure to diverse, rigorous thinking reshapes your mental architecture. You become more analytical with Sherlock Holmes, more contemplative with Marcus Aurelius, more questioning with Socrates. The authors use a striking metaphor: the mind as a living organism. Like any organism, it requires nourishment to grow, but the mind's food isn't physical. It's intellectual, concepts, arguments, viewpoints. Great books provide this nutrient-rich diet. Easy reads are like junk food, momentarily satisfying but lacking substance. Challenging books, though harder to digest, offer the proteins and vitamins that fortify the intellect. Yet they caution, mere exposure isn't enough. A feast untouched doesn't nourish. Similarly, books unread or skimmed superficially can't nurture the mind. Growth demands active engagement, questioning, analyzing, synthesizing. This is why their 4 levels of reading are so crucial. Each level represents a deeper interaction with the text, a more thorough digestion of its ideas. The authors also address a common fear, that intensive reading might make us mere imitators, echoing others' thoughts without originality. They dismiss this concern, arguing that true reading does the opposite. When you critically engage with great minds, agreeing with Plato here, disputing Kant there, you're not just absorbing, you're asserting your individuality. Each agreement or disagreement is a declaration. This aligns with my worldview, or this clashes with my values. Over time, this constant evaluation crystallizes your unique intellectual identity. Moreover, Adler and Van Doren see reading as a dialogue across centuries. When you connect ideas from different eras, say linking Machiavelli's political theories with modern geopolitics, you're not just understanding both better, you're also contributing to the great conversation that spans human history. Your insights, shaped by contemporary context, add a new voice to this timeless discourse. They also tackle the question of what to read. In an age of endless publications, choice can be paralyzing. Their advice is twofold. 1. Start with the greats. Books that have endured centuries have proven their worth. They address timeless human questions, making them perpetually relevant. 2. Follow your questions. Let your curiosities guide you. Wondering about consciousness? Start with Descartes, then maybe jump to modern neuroscience. This organic path ensures engagement. Importantly, they encourage reading beyond your comfort zone. A programmer reading poetry or a historian tackling quantum physics might seem odd. But such cross-pollination is intellectual gold. It prevents tunnel vision, fostering creativity and nuanced thinking. The poet's metaphors might inspire elegant code. The quantum concept of uncertainty could offer fresh perspectives on historical interpretation. Ultimately, Adler and Van Doren see reading not as a hobby, but as a way of life. In a world of fleeting tweets and clickbait, deep reading is a radical act. It's choosing depth over breadth, reflection over reaction. By dedicating yourself to this practice, you're not just enriching your mind, you're preserving a crucial human tradition, the thoughtful, lifelong pursuit of wisdom. As they draw their seminal work to a close, Adler and Van Doren leave us with a powerful paradox. The more you read, the more you realize how much there is to learn. This isn't discouraging, it's liberating. It means that intellectual growth has no ceiling, that the joy of discovery never ends. Each book becomes a doorway to new questions, new books, new realms of thought. They revisit their swimming analogy from earlier chapters. Learning to read well is like learning to swim. Both feel awkward at first, requiring conscious effort for each movement. But with practice, both become second nature. The seasoned reader, like the skilled swimmer, moves through complex texts with grace, hardly aware of the sophisticated techniques they're employing. Yet, the authors add a poignant twist to this metaphor. Unlike swimming, where you eventually conquer every stroke, in reading there's always another depth to plumb. Today's challenging book becomes tomorrow's stepping stone to an even more profound work. This endless progression isn't frustrating, but exhilarating. It's a reminder that the human mind's potential is boundless. In their final paragraphs, Adler and Van Doren transcend the mechanics of reading to touch on its ethical dimension. In an era where information is weaponized, where words are used to manipulate rather than illuminate, skillful reading becomes a moral imperative. It's our defense against propaganda, our tool for distinguishing wisdom from rhetoric. By reading critically, we safeguard not just our own minds, but the very foundations of a free society. They end with a call to action, not just to their readers, but to humanity. Books, they argue, are more than entertainment or education. They're the chrysalises of human potential. Inside each one, encased in paper and ink, lies the power to transform a mind. And as each mind grows, so too does our collective wisdom. In this light, mastering the art of reading isn't just a personal achievement. It's a contribution to human progress. How to Read a Book began as a guide to a skill. It concludes as a manifesto for intellectual growth, a tribute to the written word, and an impassioned plea for a society of active, discerning readers. In an age of information overload, its message is more urgent than ever. Read not just to be informed, but to be transformed. And there you have it, Mortimer Adler and Charles Van Doren's How to Read a Book, a masterpiece that's been enlightening readers for over 8 decades. This isn't just another book summary. It's an invitation to transform your reading life. Think about the books on your shelf. How many have you truly engaged with, dissected, and allowed to reshape your thinking? If you're like most, the answer is probably few. But it doesn't have to stay that way. With the techniques we've explored, from pigeonholing and X-raying to syntopical reading, you have the tools to unlock any book's hidden treasures. Remember, reading isn't just a pastime, it's a pathway to personal growth. Each book is a conversation waiting to happen, a mind eager to engage with yours. By mastering the art of reading, you're not just gaining knowledge, you're cultivating wisdom, sharpening critical thinking, and contributing to humanity's ongoing dialogue. So I challenge you, pick up a book that's always intimidated you. Apply Adler and Van Doren's methods. Engage, question, analyze. You might just find that the book you thought was beyond you is now a gateway to new intellectual horizons. Like, subscribe and share if this video opened your eyes to the transformative power of reading. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and remember, every book is an opportunity to evolve. Happy reading.